Bootleg Head Podcast. Yo, Reason is here, man. One of the greatest.
I appreciate that. Yeah.
Man, last time you came to the radio station and you did that freestyle for us, I was out of town. I forget.
I know.
I think I was in Hawaii.
Yeah, no, you was.
For my
you
anniversary.
Was big chilling. Yeah.
Yeah. So, yo, man, it's good to have you here, bro. I've been sitting with your album since you sent it to me last night.
I appreciate it.
Incredible body of work.
Thank you.
There was like 2 songs on there that were back to back. It was Fall and the song after Fall.
Slow Down. Yeah.
Slow Down.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That was like...
Yeah, no, that's like my
back to back. Like,
yeah.
I was like, shit. Like, just very, very like introspective, like just great storytelling. Like, we'll get into those records, but I wanna just kind of, you've been dropping songs, I feel like, for the last year or so.
Yeah.
And they're all on this project, but
not everyone.
Not everyone.
Yeah, exactly.
But
yeah.
but like 3 or 4 of them.
Yeah, like 3 or 4 of them.
Talk about where you at right now and why are we finally getting TDE? We be having to wait for motherfuckers on TDE. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's funny because it's like that's the mode. It's kind of like not necessarily to make people wait, but just to perfect.
Hold on, DJ Head's calling me in the middle of the podcast. Hey, yo, I'm doing an interview with Carson's Finest.
Why are you always interrupting my shit?
Fuck him and his album.
Why are you always interrupting my shit?
Hey, because this is life, dog. And I'm on some Delamo shit right now.
I need you to be on some put a shirt on shit. That's what I need you to be.
You don't have a shirt on? Oh, fuck. Let me hit you back after this, buddy. Anyway, before DJ, I gotta answer. DJ Head's like my wife. I gotta something could be on fire right now.
Yeah, that's my dog. That's my dog. But yeah, that's kind of been like the mode is to just make sure that we perfect. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Quality over quantity. But I also feel like the world being in the state that it was in was kind of weird too. We were supposed to drop last year, but just trying to make sure that everything was right. And then when we were gonna drop this earlier this year in March, COVID hit, of course. And then we were going to drop again when we finally understood, like, okay, like, let's just do it. We're going to go in June. And then a lot of the Black Lives Matter stuff hit and people were passing, and we just felt like it would be disrespectful to even be pushing music at that time. So it was just like a lot of adjusting, you know what I mean, in real life. And I feel like people forget sometimes that because we're TDE that, like, we got to adjust to. Like, we don't just work on our own, merit or whatever the case may be. So, and we respect the things that's going on. But I think we're in a good place now, like the whole label, you know what I mean? And I'm proud to be the one to start kicking it off.
Give me some of your background, man. Like, obviously, you're from Carson.
Yeah.
I had heard of you before you were working with TDE.
Mm-hmm.
You were, I would say, like, like if you were tapped in with 2 Dope Boys and some of the blogs, you were familiar with what you were doing, and then TDE became a part of the situation, and that just kind of made shit, like, super big. But how long have you been making music, man? Like, when did you first start taking this rap shit serious?
I actually blessed enough. I actually only been making music for 6 years, so I started in 2014.
Wow.
And I've been heavy into music just because I liked it. Like, I just liked lyricists and rappers that really rapped about stuff and whatnot. So I was super heavy into that. And then I played ball, and I was supposed to go to Greece to play basketball out there. And then one day I just kind of fell out of love with it on a business level because I was like, I love basketball, but I don't really want to do a business thing with it. And so I just called my agent, and I was just like, nah, I'm probably not going to go. And then
what year was that?
That was like beginning of 2014. So that was like the beginning of 2014. I was still in college. So I called him, told him that. And then there was a part of me that, like, and that's kind of what New Beginnings symbolizes, and we'll get into that. But there was a part of me that was kind of scared to do that because basketball was my comfort. I knew that I can go make money playing basketball. Like, I knew that.
Like, I can
there's anything else I can do.
I can pay my rent.
There's anything else I can do. I can go play basketball and make some money. And I was like, do I really want to give up this comfort, you know what I'm saying, in this comfort zone or whatever, to do something else and potentially fail? You know what I mean? And so I ended up making a decision. And even after I told him, I still was kind of like 50-50. I call him some days and be like, well, wait, hold on. But then when I graduated, and I wrote a song called Letter to God, which is like my second song that I wrote. And I sent it to my brother, and we listened to it. And after that, that song kind of got me over the fear. I was like, I think I'm really good at this shit. Let me just try it and see what happens. Shot. Yeah, exactly.
So where did you go to? Where did you play basketball at?
It was at a D2 called Northwestern State in Iowa. There's like a a swarm of Northwesterns in the Midwest. It's like Northwestern Oklahoma, Northwestern Iowa.
I feel like there's a million Northwesterns.
There's a bunch of Northwesterns. Yeah, it's like this little like weird, middle of nowhere. It was awful.
So were you a point guard? Because you're not the tallest
I'm not
guy.
tall enough to be anything else. 100%.
Yeah, I mean it's crazy because I like the basketball hustle. Like you said, like going to Greece. Like I got some homies who live in Europe and who hoop, and like you said, like it's like, you know, if you love basketball and you're like you're good, like there's always like
a place to make money.
Pay your rent.
There's always a way to make money. But
like, and if you could pay your rent playing basketball,
bro, it's like, and that was my thing. I'm like I'm seeing all my homies like, you know, work jobs and stuff, and they hate their job, and I'm like even though I might not like where I'm at over there, at least I like my job. Like, you know what I'm saying? And I can pay my rent doing it or whatever the case may be. But I just had 2 nieces, and I was in Iowa for 2 years, and I wanted to come back home. I went through like a little racial situation out there with my coach. And it was just like, I was just like, you know, I don't know if I'm ready to leave again. You know what I mean? And so that was kind of like part of the influence behind it was, I don't know if I'm ready to leave. And then on top of that, I was using music as like therapy. Like I was writing out there just to kind of pass the time because I was out there. It was only me and like 6 other black people at the school. So I didn't really have nobody. Yeah, I didn't really have nobody to talk to, relate to. So I was just kind of writing as kind of like a therapeutical thing, and I started liking it. So I was like, man, let me just, you know, record a couple things. So I came home on spring break and recorded a couple records, and that's kind of when I decided, like, you know, I'm just going to do this and see how it works out.
When you say you had a racial situation with your coach, what happened?
Basically, I had a coach that, I mean, he was racist to you know,
keep it funky.
To keep it funky. We used to have, it was me and 3 other black players. We used to have black only meetings before the games.
That you guys conducted or that they put together?
He would be like, I just want to meet with the 3 black guys and talk to them about how they need to play to fit into like this role, like, and then he would like say the N-word to us, like in metaphorically, like, so not at us, but he's still saying it.
Right.
One time he used this example where he was like, you know, he was like, white people are the brain, black people are the soul, Mexicans are the heart, because, you know, they work hard and, you know, make everything go. He was like, when you put all 3 of them together, it's a beautiful thing. But if you had to pick one, wouldn't you rather be the brain like that? Like,
well, to be honest, if he wanted to use that reference, I would argue that Asian people are the brain. If I'm just being honest,
and I would also argue that, you know, the heart's kind of just as important as, you know, the brain.
If I'm being honest, white people might be like the kneecaps or something. I don't know. I feel like we're not bringing a lot to the table in 2020.
Not in 2020 right now.
Shit's fucked up, man.
1,000%. So yeah, like I went through that situation. And it's funny, even with that situation, like the NAACP was getting involved and stuff, and it was about to be big, and I was younger.
Right.
And so if I had my brain that I had now, I would have carried it all the way through and went, because I feel like I could have changed some things over there.
That's an intimidating fight for a kid in college.
Like when I was in college, I was just like, bro, I just want to go home, bro. Like if y'all can make it to where I can go home after the season and just like do my schoolwork from home and come back to graduate and leave again, then like we got a deal. And my mom didn't want me to do that. She wanted me to stay and fight. But I just ended up saying, like, you know, like I just want to come home. So that's what they let me do. After the season was over, I went home. I worked from home, did all my schoolwork from home, sent it in. They kind of just passed me because they were just like,
we don't want no smoke.
Yeah, we don't want no smoke. Like, so I was kind of just turning in whatever.
Is this guy still coaching?
He is, unfortunately.
There?
He is, unfortunately. Yeah.
What the fuck?
Yeah, and if you've been to that town, it's like, it's one of those places that it's like, bro, nothing will never change there because there's nothing there. Like, there's nothing there to make it, you get what I'm saying, like, change. And that's the reason why, that is one regret that I do have. I hate having regrets in life, but if I could go back, I would fight that. You know what I mean? Right. Because he doesn't need to be coaching, like, to be completely honest.
Hey, put his name out there so people can, you know.
I honestly legally can't.
Oh, you legally can't. Yeah, well, the coach of Northwestern Iowa, you cocksucker.
Yeah. It's not hard to find, though. Like, people can look and find.
Just Google it.
Yeah, people can look and find what college I went to for sure. But yeah.
Damn.
No, it's unfortunate.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And just really quick, the crazy thing about it is that, so he has a nephew that's in the NBA right now that is complete opposite. Like, he does like podcasts and stuff about racial discrimination against black players. A white guy.
JJ Redick?
I told you I can't say what it is, but like it's crazy the opposites though. Like he is like, his nephew is like hard working, fighting against like racial discrimination. We'll talk about it.
I listened to JJ Redick's podcast.
He actually does have a great podcast. I just got hip to it like recently.
Yeah, that's dope, man. Yeah, I'm a huge basketball guy, so I actually don't listen to as much. Man, it sucks because I listen to like certain shit. Like I'll like gravitate to an album.
Yeah.
and then I'm just stuck with it. Like I'm still listening to fucking like Freddie Gibbs and Alchemist Alfredo,
which was incredible though,
for sure. But and then like outside of that, I'm just listening to sports talk radio like a degenerate sports gambler. But yeah, man, that's wild. I didn't know that about you, bro.
Yeah. No, it was a crazy situation. You know what I mean? And it's weird because like when I write music, I never know what I'm gonna touch on. So I feel like one day it's something that I'm gonna touch on, but I never come into songs like purposely aiming.
Right,
you know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, so I'm just like one day it'll come spilling out and I'll talk about it. You know what I mean? So yeah.
Yeah, no, that's wild. I think that's important too for you to share that, because I'm sure there's people who are going through maybe similar situations, maybe not on a basketball team, but like whether it's their boss or
corporate environments, anything.
Yeah, man, it's just fucked up right now. Like, and people got to stand up for what's right, bro.
Yeah. Nah, I mean, but I will say in 2020, because of how chaotic it is, like there always has to be balance, and I feel like there's more white people than ever that's trying to understand. And I always tell black people in general, like, you know, don't criticize white people that are trying to understand that maybe don't understand it, because that's step one. You get what I'm saying? Is them trying to understand it.
I think that what sucks about right now is like kind of what you just said. Like, if there's no nuance and there's no room for progress, and if it's like, hey, yo, fuck you off the rip, because you're not exactly where I want you to be, as opposed to like
you're trying to figure it out.
You know, like, you know what I'm saying? I think that there's two opposite ends of the spectrum, and I think that's the other opposite end of the spectrum, where it's like, you know, there's people who, like you said, like they might not have known about. I mean, and what's crazy is
it's crazy, but it's like you have to understand that people's reality are their reality. Like some people genuinely are unaware. Like they knew stuff was going on, but they didn't know.
They didn't know
that it was like. And I tell people all the time, like, you got to be understanding, bro, to people's environments. Like, you know what I mean? Like, there's people out there that they have nothing against black people, but they literally might not have a black person in their life. Period.
There might be people who just don't grow up like in that environment.
Exactly.
Like there's
100%.
people who grow up in fucking Salt Lake City and all they know is like white Mormon kids.
That's
and
a fact.
Like, you know what I mean?
You
like,
know what I'm saying?
That doesn't, you know, and if they're trying to be empathetic, I just think that we're losing like a lot of nuance in the world, where it's like you're either this or you're this.
Yeah.
But what if you're like here or here? Like, you know what I'm saying?
And you're trying to get here. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think even politically it's just fucked up, because I feel like you can't, like, I can criticize Joe Biden and still say I'm voting for Joe Biden.
That's a fact.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like, I don't fuck with Joe Biden, really.
Yeah.
But I'm not voting for Donald Trump, fam.
Exactly.
Like, you know what I'm saying?
No, that's
but
real.
I can, like, there's like nuance. Like, you got to be able to, like, you know, ask questions and be critical. And just because you're critical doesn't mean like you ain't for whatever the fuck. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly. Well, the issue is that we're in an environment right now where it's like everybody jumps out the window for everything. Like it's like you can't even have a conversation about something. It's like you got to pick. You get what I'm saying? Like you have to pick what it is right now. And if you don't, and you even play the fence, then it's like, you know, then they're just gonna label you like, okay, well then you're over here. You know what I'm saying? And so
like I was like a big Bernie Sanders supporter, and I had people like dig up tweets I said about Joe Biden, like, yo, man, you don't even fuck with this. I'm like, yeah, like, obviously I'm not like crazy about Joe Biden. Like, he's probably the least candidate on that side that I would fuck with. But you know what? The other side is
terrible.
Is fucking Hitler. You know, like the worst possible shit in the world. Like I would vote for like literally anyone else.
That's
like
a fact. That's a fact.
It could be George W. Bush. Like I'm running the G-Dub vote. You know what I'm saying? Like fuck it, run Iraq back one
Joe
more time.
Biden would have to personally put out an attack on my family for me to
not. Joe
like,
Biden would have to put out like an entire like diss album, like just dissing every race, ethnicity, sexual.
Oh God.
Like,
oh God.
Like, come on, bro. Like, it's crazy. Nah, that's dope though, man. So, the fact you didn't start making music till 2014. Now, were you writing before that, or was it something that like?
It was like I wasn't really writing. I had some homeboys that rapped, and I would like kind of be with them in the studio just on some kicking and shit. And I would kind of like be like, oh, you know, you should say this, you should say that. And they used to always tell me like, dog, you kind of tight with like words and shit like that. You know what I mean? But it was never something that I was taking in any type of way, recording or nothing like that. Just because when I focus on something, and this is a good thing and a flaw, I'm like tunnel vision when I focus on shit. So I can't do basketball and music. I can't do music and something else. You get what I'm saying? Like it's like I have to focus on one thing, and you know what I mean? Like, that's just kind of how I am. So I wasn't able to really do it until basketball was off the table, you know what I mean? And so, and it shows that way. But now I've been blessed because things have just kind of worked very fast, you know, in comparison to other people that I know.
I mean, you're one of the Jedis, man. Like, lyrically, you're one of those guys that's like, you know what you're getting with reason.
Yeah, no, that's love. That's love.
And that's I mean, 6 years is not a long time, man.
Yeah.
Especially in hip hop. Like, there's people been doing this shit for 20 years before we know who they are. You know what I'm saying? That's wild. So, 2014, you start making music. You leave the basketball shit alone.
Yeah.
What was in your opinion, the moment that you realized there were some eyes on you that, like, okay, this actually really might work?
Yeah. I remember I was doing this thing called Reason Fridays where I just like freestyle every Friday, and I was putting it out, and it was actually leading up to There You Have It. So I dropped like 10 of them, like 10 weeks in a row leading up to the drop of that project. And like around the 8th one, things just kind of started picking up. Like, first I got posted by like a couple of professional athletes, like Brandon Jennings. Shout out to him.
Shout out Brandon Jennings, man.
Yeah, he looked out. Todd Gurley. It was a couple of dudes, and then Baller Alert posted me, and then after that, like a few like low level label reps started reaching out, and we had a couple meetings. So that's kind of when I realized that some eyes were on me. But then I started talking to a dude named Tubby, Sean Holiday. Shout out to Tubby. He was like the first high level executive. He was the VP of A&Rs at I want to say Sony at the time, and he brought me into his office and played him a bunch of records. I played him Better Days, and after Better Days, he was like, "If you can get me like 6 more of these, like then like, you know, we can go." But things never kind of progressed, just because, you know, labels, and this is no offense to Tubby at all. Like, I love Tubby because he was actually one of the first people to like start talking to people about me. But labels, the big labels, they don't really want to develop artists. They kind of want to keep an eye on you until you kind of start bubbling, you know what I mean? And
they want you to do all the groundwork.
They want you to do all the groundwork.
And then they come in and they pull you over the finish line.
Exactly. You get what I'm saying? Like, and so, you know, that was kind of where Tubby was. He was like, you know, like, I just want him to kind of get cracking first. You know what I mean? And what's crazy is that Tubby sent my music to Top, and he wanted to do a joint deal with Top because he was like, you know, I'm not going to get him cracking, but I know Top can get him cracking. And he wanted to do a joint deal with Top, but Top doesn't do joint deals. So Top never even listened to my shit. Like, he was just like, as soon as Tubby started talking about a joint deal, he was just like, well, you know, I'm not interested. Yeah. And then when I met Top years later, Top digs in his emails, and it's the same songs that I'm playing them in the studio. He like, wow, like, this shit is really here. Unopened email, like, from Tubby.
Yeah, I think that is one dope thing about TDE. You know, is the development process. Yeah. You know, like there's a dope young MC who you guys have under your roster that I've known for a long time. He's wearing the chain. I don't know if it's official, so I'm not gonna say his name. But like, I mean, he's been on the label about a year and like just working.
Yeah. No,
like,
that's a fact.
You know, working on his craft, and he showed me some videos that y'all have shot, and like, you know, it's like that kind of like attention to detail, and like, you know, that shit is as a fan, it can be frustrating. Yeah. From the fans' perspective, because I'm like, I need a fucking Isaiah Rashad album, bro. By the way, glad he's on the album, but no, just in general, I just think that that's something that's missing from the game and the process now. Because like, you know, like you said, man, these labels low key are kind of hoeing everybody, man, because they want you to do everything. Yeah. And then once it gets to a certain point, now obviously once the label comes involved, like there are looks and radio play.
Oh yeah, no, there's things that they can offer that people still can't.
Right. There are still some things, but like if you're like, you know, I would just say most artists just keep grinding. Grind a little longer. Build up your you know, your leverage with these fools.
1,000%. Like I tell people that all the time. Like if you don't have a like signing with a major label, to me in this day and age, it's just not smart. Now if you're gonna sign with like a when you don't have the leverage. Because you're
gonna get a really bad deal.
You're gonna get a really bad deal regardless. There's nothing it don't matter how talented you are. You could be Michael Jackson. You're gonna get a really bad deal. So to me, it's smarter to sign with like some of these lower management companies and stuff like that. Like shout out to LVRN, they're doing an incredible job.
They're killing it.
Yeah, you know what I mean. They're killing it. You know, the TDEs, the Dreamvilles, whoever it is. You know, a lot of people look at TDE as a major, and we're not. You know what I mean? We're an independent label.
Yeah, no, that's what I be trying to tell people is like, yo, if you're on TDE, that doesn't mean you're on Interscope. It doesn't mean you're on
Interscope. You get what I'm saying? Like,
so you're just strictly TDE.
I'm just strictly TDE. You know
so is Absol. So you know.
Exactly, and the same thing with me. Like we're trying to build up leverage that way. When we do take it to a major, we get the deal that we want. You know what I mean? We get the situation we want. Which Top is Top. He can get whatever he wants, but at the same time, it's more organic to be able to build that up and show your value first. You know what I mean?
100%. When you first became involved with TDE, like I feel like what's dope about a brand like TDE, a brand like Dreamville, is like their fans are so open armed.
Yeah,
like you're one of us now.
Yeah. You
step and so you automatically step into like
20,000 diehard
fans.
Like, I don't know your name, but we ride.
But we fucking with you. Like, did you see that right away? Like,
1,000%. Like TDE fans are like they're the dopest, most overly critical fans in the world.
They're
like
smart hip hop fans.
They're smart hip hop fans, and sometimes almost too smart. Like because I talk to a lot of my fans, sometimes to a fault. Like my managers tell me, like, you know, I got to be more ducked off. But I talk to them because I am a fan too, and I want to know how they feel. But sometimes I tell them, I'm like, yo, y'all listen to music sometimes and don't enjoy it, like because you're too busy like being critical or trying to decode what it is. Like you're not even like I'm like chill, like roll a blunt.
Like just smoke, back, relax.
Yeah, and listen, it's music. You know what I mean? It's entertainment. But nah, shout out to all the TDE fans and the Dreamville fans. I went on tour with JID and realized that a lot of them cross over.
Yeah,
like, you know what I mean? Like a lot of them do.
They definitely
love
do.
both of us. Yeah.
What was the record that caught Top's attention? Do you remember like which record or what it was that like that got you that meeting with Top?
Yeah, well, Better Days is the one that really, really caught Top's attention. But the one that made Top feel like, yo, like this dude can like make records, because that's Top's big thing right now. It's like, yeah, you can rap, but can you make records?
Can you make records?
Exactly. And it was on There You Have It. It was called Fuck With Me. And when he heard that record, he was like, yo, like, yeah, this dude, he can go. You know what I mean? And it wasn't even we weren't even supposed to sign. Like Musa was taking me to him. We were actually supposed to be doing something with Dave Gross. Shout out to Dave Gross. He would do a lot of stuff with Nip. And we were supposed to be doing like a little partnership deal with Dave, and Dave shows a lot of love, and he was gonna help me build up a little bit. And then the plan was to go to Top. And Moose kept listening to the music that I had, and without me even saying so, he just took it to Top. And then Top was like, you know, like, let's sit down and have a meeting. And I was playing music for like an hour. Top's not bobbing his head or nothing like that. He's not giving me nothing. Like he's showing Moose memes and shit. I'm like, it's the most disrespectful meme.
Oh, that's the worst. When you're playing someone music and they're on their phone
like,
or something,
peeking
like,
out my eye, trying to like see if he fucking with it. Like he's just not. And then Fuck With Me played, and that was the first time that he kind of like put his phone down and started bobbing his head. And so I leave the meeting, I'm low-key like depressed. I'm like, that shit did not go well. And Moose tells me, he like, nah, you gotta understand my pops, like, if he didn't like it, you wouldn't have been here for an hour. Like he don't do that. You know what I mean? He was like, so if, you know, he was like, a deal might not happen today or next month or whatever, but you know, like, let's just keep working and go back to Dave and recoup, and we'll come back. And then like 3 days later, Moose called me and he was like, I think my pops is gonna sign you. And I was just like, what the fuck? Like, this is crazy. You know what I mean? And so it happened way faster than I thought. And you know, that was also part of the reason why I feel like it took a little longer for me to drop some stuff after I signed, because me and Top still had to get to know each other as people. You get what I'm saying? Because it's such a people label.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So we had to still build that. You know what I mean?
It's a family business.
Exactly, 100%.
People forget that. Like,
yeah,
it's a family business.
Yeah,
man.
like Top will not sign you if he don't personally fuck with you. He'll just take you and get you signed somewhere else and get a piece of your contract. Like, he'll just do that. Yeah, exactly, on everything.
No, that's crazy. Yeah, I think that you know, it's been dope to see your development, because you've been dope for so long. And I think that I feel like this album is like your coming out party, if that makes sense.
Yeah. That's how I approached it too.
There's so many things happened over the last couple years. Like, you know, I think that Lambo truck record was so fucking special on that Dreamville album.
Thank you.
Obviously, you know, like you said, you went on tour with JID, and like, you know, you've been just kind of like, it's been like a tumbleweed, just accumulating more and more like momentum. And I think that, you know, now's the time. Talk about the album, man, because there's a lot of personal shit on the album. There's a lot of moments on the project that were like oh fuck moments. Like, damn, this shit is like crazy. Like,
thank you.
How did you approach this shit? Did you approach it kind of like, you know, because you didn't tell all your story, obviously. Yeah,
nah, and I didn't even completely dive all the way into it. It's funny, some of the more personal ones, were records that were supposed to be on my debut album that I'm working on right now. So I consider this like a project.
So this is like a mixtape.
It's like a mixtape kind of in a way.
Whatever we're calling it.
Exactly.
So,
whatever
so we're
not
considering this.
It's funny because I hate when artists do that, but now I'm that guy.
But now you're that guy.
I'm definitely that guy. But yeah, it's kind of like a mixtape or a project or a collection of songs. And it's funny because when we made it, we were like, damn, we need some shit for like the core fans, like, because it's not personal enough, you know what I mean? And that's kind of when we added the slow downs and the gossips and the falls, and then Windows Cry didn't get added until Top called and wanted to add it, which is crazy because of the content on there. But Top called and was like, nah, that should be the outro. And so that's kind of how we put it together. But I approached it from a celebratory point of view, because There You Have It dropped originally in 2016, and so I got a bunch of day one fans that's been riding with me, and they see me get signed, and we re-dropped There You Have It, and they're like, "Yeah, that's great for you, but like, where's the new music? We've been heard this shit," and so I wanted to give them something that I felt like they would want to hear. So I approached it like, I'm not even a feature heavy type of artist, but I was like, okay, you know, what do I want to hear as a fan? You know what I mean? I always wanted to hear Zay and Jid on a record together. Like, let me go do that. You know what I mean? Rapsody for the rap heads is like fire. You know what I mean?
She
like,
killed it on there.
Yeah, she went crazy. It's my favorite feature on the shit. So when it did that, I was like, you know, let me take care of home. Let me bring Soul out the cave. So we did Trapped In, we did Flick It Up. Trapped In didn't make it, but Flick It Up, of course, made it. So I approached it from that standpoint, like from a fan standpoint, and let's make fun records. Let's make, you know what I mean? Let's get dope features. Let's get shit like that, dope production. And then we came back and added the personal elements. And so that's kind of how I attacked it from putting it together as a whole project.
Yeah, on the album, Fall's a record that I thought was really dope because, you know, the first verse is you rapping from the perspective of like an upcoming female artist who, you know, and I do think that that's something that's kind of unsaid in music. Like, I even think like, when we think of female MCs, like, I think like, and it's unfortunate, like Rapsody's on the album, and Rapsody to me is the best.
Yeah, to me,
female MC, and one of the best overall MCs.
Overall MCs, like I think she's like top 5 at very, very minimum top 10 MCs. Period.
No, she's like she's up there, but like as a female, she's like the best. But I feel like it sucks because she's not overly sexualized. People don't 100%. Give her that respect, and that's not like I give her that respect, but I feel like because she's not an overly sexualized female artist,
that's a fact,
she doesn't get the respect that she deserves, and that's just kind of like the world we're fucking in. Like, you know what I'm saying? It's tough. Like, but I thought that was dope. Like, was there anybody in mind, like, when you wrote that? Like you don't got to say anybody's name, but was there something?
Well, actually, rap, that's how we met. So on that verse on Fall, which I personally think is the most important record on the album because of that, that verse about female MCs and
the second verse.
Yeah, and the second verse too as well. You get what I'm saying? And but unfortunately, because of what we just talked about, I was a late Rapsody fan. I didn't get put on till Layla's Wisdom, and I'm on tour with Rock, and I'm listening. And I'm like, yo, what the fuck? Like she is crazy.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
And Kendrick have been putting in work for like 10 years.
And I just wasn't hip. You know what I mean? Dog. And so I wrote the verse, and I actually even say on the verse, I say I had a convo with Layla sharing some of her wisdom with me, came to kick it with me. So I wrote it from her perspective, and I didn't write the second verse yet. And she was following me on Twitter. And so I just reached out to her and was like, hey, I wrote a verse about you. Like, I just want to send it to you so that you can hear it. Like, it's special to me. And I sent it to her, and she called me, and she said that she started tearing up listening to it because she had stories about that where people were talking to her and telling her how she needs to like sexualize herself a little bit more, and she was just trying to stick to the core. And she said, you know, that whole she just want to be an artist, like she felt that, like, because that's all she was like, I just wanted to rap and make music, you know what I mean? And so that's how we made our connection. And then after that, a couple months later was when I sent her I Can Make It, and then, you know, we ended up doing that. So she was definitely the one that was on the forefront. She was the motivation behind that entire verse.
Yeah, for sure. That's what I thought when I heard it. I was like, yo, this shit like just reminds me of like because I've been a Rapsody fan for so long.
Yeah.
And you know, it just I was like, how is she not more respected? And it's really like, it's just because we have such a shallow industry that we're in, and really just like fans are so also shallow minded.
Fans are shallow, yeah,
like you know what I'm saying. Like not every fan, like you know, it's unfortunate, and you know, I used to be guilty of that when I was like younger. You know what I'm saying, like, but I definitely think like that's an important verse. And then even the second verse, and this is something that I think is finally, I feel like starting to kind of die out. I feel like a lot of the young artists that I'm meeting aren't drugged out of their minds.
Exactly.
But for like 2 or 3 years, bro, like 2017, 2018, last year, like it was rough because everybody we would have come by the radio station would be fucking high as fuck.
No, 100%. And not understanding the damage, like, and that's why to me that song, like I said, is to me the most important record on the project, because it's like not only is this industry affecting like the quote unquote street niggas that come in and how they are with drugs and stuff like that too, but that's the reason why, even though he's so loved and I love him too, you know, rest in peace Mac Miller. That's why I mentioned his name was because
I heard you mention his name. I wonder if you're gonna catch some flack for that.
Yeah, and I might, but at the end of the day, like I pride myself on being like one of the more honest artists out here, and I love Mac Miller, and
for sure.
it's a tragedy what happened, but the reason why I mentioned his name was to show the industry, like it's for the people that's gonna say, well, it's just these artists that are affected by it. The ones that come from the street. And it's not.
It's not just the Littles.
This is a great kid.
No, Mac Miller was like one of the greats.
He was like one of the greats and a great kid and a great guy and a nice guy in this industry, in my opinion, you know what I mean, destroyed him. And
it's not just the young boys.
It's not just the young boys. And that was the reason why I did it. I was like, you know, there's a chance that I could catch some flack, but I feel like this is so important for people to understand, is that like it's not just the Littles. It's like this industry affects everybody, especially the kids that are stars young. Like Mac Miller has been in this shit since he was like 8. Yeah. You know what I mean? So it's like when you grow up in this industry, you almost don't even have a shot unless we start changing how we approach kids. Like these are kids, bro. You know what I mean? And we're putting certain things in front of their face and expecting them, you know, how are you as a 15-year-old gonna be in the studio with one of your idols and he offer you a blunt and not hit the blunt? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, and it's for sure. It's like we got to start taking more accountability.
Or like if you're in, and like you said, I mean, weed is one thing, but like how are you going to be in the studio with whoever, and let's say they got Xans or they're sniffing lines, like,
bro, and these are your idols. You like, I don't want to look like the guy that's like, you know what I mean? Like, it's the running joke, like, oh, Snoop passed me a blunt. I don't smoke, but Snoop passed me a blunt. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's like
I've done that. But I do smoke.
Yeah.
But I also like, I'm like, Snoop passes you the blunt.
Snoop passes you the blunt. Like, how are you
what
not?
What are you going to do?
Exactly.
Willie Nelson passes you the blunt. You know what I'm saying? To certain people. But it's like, I think that, you know, I've been kind of, you know, shout out to Future. He's one of my favorite artists, but I was kind of critical of him pretty heavily when it came to like just the narrative he was pushing. And he's living his truth through his music. But I just think that there was just an era of, and it's still going on, you know, but I just feel like there's this whole wave of kids that were just influenced by like that kind of shit. Like I think, you know, the fact like Mask Off was such a big song.
That is real.
And the whole hook is about
Percocet,
Molly Percocet. Like, fuck. Exactly, it was the number one record. I got the plaque right there.
This shit is black.
That's the plaque.
That
it's
shit
4
is
times
playing.
platinum.
Yeah, it's playing 20,000 times a day.
On the radio,
on the radio, bro. And they're not bleeping out Percocet, Molly Percocet. They're not bleeping it out. Yeah, exactly. And that's my whole thing is like for me, it's like, you know, I never mind catching flack if it's something that I stand on and it's in my morals. You get what I'm saying? Like, and that's not to say that I'm perfect, because, you know, there's times that I rap about, you know what I mean, smoking or drinking or whatever the case may be, because I do it. But I also tell the other sides of the story as well. And that's all I say for people is like, you know, everybody live your truth. You know what I mean? But understand that like when you're given money and fame and all this stuff, like you still hold a certain level of responsibility. And if it's artists that I am genuinely enjoy and am a fan of, I'm always going to hold you accountable regardless. And that doesn't mean that I don't like you. You know what I mean? It just means that I'm holding you accountable because you're in a position that, you know, you are a role model to somebody. You know what I mean? And if your fans, if I catch flack for it and your fans, you know, feel some type of way about it, I'm okay with it if it's something that I morally stand on. You know what I mean? So that's kind of where I'm at with it.
Also on the project, you talk about losing a child.
Yeah.
The issue of, you know, abortion. I think that's something that I never personally went through, but I know, you know, a lot of people have.
Yeah.
And I haven't really heard anybody really dive into that issue on record since, like, there was a comment in Lauryn Hill record when I was a kid that was like crazy. But why was that important to address? Because I feel like that's something that, you know, man, that's a deep issue to dive into, bro.
Yeah. For me, it's funny. As a defense mechanism, I do this thing where when I go through stuff that bothers me, I just kind of forget about it. And so writing about it was actually like the first time I even talked about it. Like I didn't even tell my brother, as close as we are, that happened, just because I just kind of wanted to forget about it. And unfortunately, it was in a situation where there wasn't a lot of love in that situation. And you know, I you know, was the person that, you know, didn't necessarily like tell her to do it, but at the same time was definitely like a guy trying to lead her, like this is going to mess up my life or whatever the case may be. And I regretted it, not because I wanted a kid at the time, but just because of the fact that, you know, this is something that is so sacred to a woman, and a woman should be able to have that, you know what I mean? Which she still ultimately had that choice, but I was being guiding. And so that's why I talk about it in the record, to hold myself accountable and say, like, I need to grow up. Like that's childish to have that mindset. That's childish to be that way and to think that way. You know what I mean? And so
how long ago was that?
That was probably like 2.5 years ago.
Oh shit.
Like that. Yeah.
Pretty recent.
Yeah, exactly. And so for me, it was just like, you know, I wanted to hold myself accountable for that and speak about it. And just for anybody else that's in that situation to know, like, you know, men have to be men, and you make the bed, you got to lie in it. You know what I mean? And it should be her choice. And if she wants to do that, then cool. If she doesn't want to do it, then cool. But it should always be their choice. You get what I'm saying? So I wanted to hold myself accountable on that.
Yeah, no, I think that's some real shit. Like, I think that, you know, if you're like you're guiding your narrative, like, hey, look, we don't fuck with each other like that.
You get what I'm saying? Like, you know what I mean? And sometimes
you're pretty much saying, like, look, I ain't really gonna be around like that. You know what I mean? Like
100%.
And then that kind of influences her decision, and, you know, as opposed to just being like, hey, it's on you.
It's
Whatever
on
you want to do, I'm here.
Like, yeah, exactly. Like, you know where we are. Like, she doesn't need you to mind you of where you guys are. You get what I'm saying?
Right.
So that's my whole thing. It's like, you know, y'all can have completely have an adult conversation about what the circumstances are and all of that. I think that part should always be had, you know what I mean? But it shouldn't be a guiding conversation, you know what I mean? It should be just a conversation around where we are, you know, money, situation, love, everything.
Yeah, for sure.
And then, you know, ultimately,
and then you make your decision.
Listen, you make your decision.
Yeah. How did the Showstop record come together with the Kendrick we call them ad-libs?
Yeah, kind of like ad-libs.
Yeah, because that was like...
shout out Rock. I kind of took his swag on that. I saw Win going crazy. I was like, I need some ad-libs, man.
Right. Yeah, by the way, yeah, shout out J-Rock. Yeah. But no, like, how did... Like, did you just grab those vocals from like a session, or did he come in and do?
Nah,
because that sounded like the record from the Black Panther soundtrack you did with Travis. Yeah. Was it off of that? Like,
nah, the ideas were birthed though from that and When. It was birthed from those records.
Okay.
And I had Showstop already, and we were already talking about it being a single. And I was trying to get a verse. I'm not gonna lie.
Of course.
Yeah, exactly. Of course. Like I'm a swing for the fences. I was trying to get a verse. But I started to slowly realize in the conversation that ad-libs are more reasonable. You get what I'm saying? And it's funny because fans be giving me slack. They be like, oh, Kendrick's on. Oh, he just did the ad-libs. I'm like, nigga, it took me 6 months to get these ad-libs. Like, y'all better enjoy these ad-libs. Like, it took me a long time to get those ad-libs from Dot. You know what I mean? Like, to a point to where I thought they weren't coming. And it's funny because even when he did the ad-libs, he did a whole track of them. And I still, like, we're like taking some and plugging them in different places and stuff like that. Because he hit me and he was like, you know, like I did the ad-libs, but it feels a little crowded. And then when I sent him the record back, you know, we plugged them in certain places. He was like, okay, cool, that feels more natural or whatever. Because even when he sent them to me, he didn't really like how it sounded. So he wasn't going to want it to come out that way. You know what I mean? And so I had to rearrange them and make it feel like a record. And then, you know, he gave me his blessing on it. But yeah, shout out to Dot.
Yeah, it's crazy because you would think like coming to TDE, like, I feel like fans expect you to just get the automatic Kendrick record.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I don't feel like that's happened for a while.
Man, like they think it's like, and that's what I tell fans, like y'all think it's
it hasn't
like,
been like that for a very long time.
They think it's like a TDE castle. You walk in
like
and then you just get records from everybody. I'm like,
yo,
bro,
you want the Q feature? You want the
like it was hard to get the Q
like
feature.
You're picking off of a fucking menu or something.
Bro, like it's
Q
hard
record is crazy though.
Man, thank you.
Did he make you play golf with him first?
He did not make me play. I'm glad he didn't because I'm horrible in golf. But that was actually one of the ones that my manager Keem he also manages Q, and so he pitched it to him. And but I wasn't sure if he was gonna do it. You know what I mean? But he came through and he killed that shit though.
Hey, I fuck with Q, man, because Q will all like. It don't matter if you're major, like if he fucks with you, like he'll do the verse.
Exactly. And if he's like in that headspace, like I like Q because it's like that one thing, if he fucks with you, he'll do the verse. And then also like if Q is working, like he's working. And you know what I mean?
For sure. Like you'll have like I remember I was listening to like Burner Styles P album and that fool was on there and I'm like, man, that's why Q's the realest because he'll tap in with whoever. Like I know him and Freddie got some shit on the way that I just heard that's crazy.
Oh, yeah, I'm already knowing that's probably crazy.
Super crazy.
Yeah,
but
I need to get Freddie on some shit. Shout out to Freddie. Freddie is hard, bro.
We'll make it happen, man.
Yeah, no, 1,000%. I definitely need to do that. Yeah.
All right, so the album comes out. Well, it's out. We're gonna drop this on Friday, so this would be a nice. So the album is out.
Okay, so the album's out. Yeah,
the album is out.
Go listen to New Beginners right now.
Can we? Hey, okay, so can we talk about the Logic lines?
Yeah, let's do it.
I've known Logic for a very long time. I don't take him as a culture vulture. Now, obviously, I'm a white man in hip hop, so you could think what you want about that.
Yeah.
But I kind of have known dude since about 2013, and I know him as like a hardcore hip hop fan. Like that's how me and him connected was through conversations about like Aquemini and just a lot of rap shit.
Yeah.
He seems like, I mean, he's a very disliked guy the last 5 or 6 years. But what's the issue with Logic, and why did he get those bars?
Well, for me, it's funny because that's the misunderstanding of the line, and I learned a good lesson on that. I learned 2 lessons: timing, as far as reading the room, and also like if you're gonna say something, you need to kind of go in a little bit more detail. When I rap, I just kind of rap about what I'm feeling at the time. So I too have loved Logic since like damn near 2010, and kind of going off what we said earlier, like if I'm a fan of you, I hold you accountable. A lot of fans thought that I was saying he's a culture vulture of hip hop. That's not what I was talking about. You get what I'm saying? And so from a hip hop standpoint, you can't talk about the last 10 years of hip hop without talking about Logic. Like he's in that category. He's not as big as Kendrick and them, but he's in that category.
Put some respect on his name.
Yeah,
man.
no,
He's doing
1,000%.
arenas.
Yeah, no, 1,000%. So what I was speaking about was the fact that Logic is a black man, and Logic is somebody that has talked about black plight, black struggle. That's what he talked about in his come up. And then when he got to a certain album, I think it was Everybody, and he touched on a lot of issues that was going on in America: suicide, transgenders, gays, everybody. And I personally felt like he didn't touch on Black Lives Matter enough. So when I said the line about the culture, I just meant black culture is what got you to the point that you're at. So when you're at the top of your platform, where now you're ready to explode to the world and have this huge artist, like, talk about us too. And that's what I meant by that. And that just comes from my passion for black culture in general and black lives and what's going on with black people and stuff like that.
No, that's fair.
Yeah, it came from that perspective. You get what I'm saying? It had nothing to do with hip hop. It had nothing to do with records or rapping and nothing like that. Like, I'm a Logic fan, but like I said earlier, like I hold people accountable. I would never want somebody to do the same thing with me. If I get to a certain platform and now I'm about to have that album that explodes, it's like, you still gotta remember why you're doing this, which is to, bring awareness, you know what I mean, to people and stuff like that.
Yeah, I think I actually was not a fan of that album. That's probably
and that was exactly. I think a lot of people that were hardcore Logic fans weren't. That big of a fan of
honestly, like, this last album that just dropped
is incredible.
Was the last album, like the first album I've fucked with since his second album, the Incredible Journey or True Story one.
Yeah, No Pressure is incredible.
No Pressure's fire.
It's
but
fire.
I think that, like, I don't know, man. I just think that, I think that's a fair criticism. I think that album, Everybody, was like, I think he was dealing with a lot of the biracial shit he's probably mentally.
Yeah, I think that he was just probably having a lot.
People don't know Logic is black.
Yeah, no, 1,000%.
Which is crazy.
I think he was probably having a lot of meetings and stuff like that. You know what I mean? I don't want to speculate too much, but I think that people were telling him, like, this is what you have to do to get to the next level. You know what I mean? And and that's my whole thing is, I'm just, if I'm a fan of you, you know what I mean? I'm like I said, I'm one of the more honest artists in this shit. I don't necessarily, I don't have the goals like everybody else has to be the greatest of all time, because I don't believe that exists. Like, in 10 years, there's going to be somebody that's going to tell you NBA YoungBoy is better than Kendrick. It's going to happen. Like, so.
There is an entire generation of hip hop fans right now that will tell you that's with a straight face.
Exactly. So for me, it's like, I just want to make impact, and I want to broker honest conversations and try to make an impact to where people, elevate their honesty, their accountability, their responsibility, whatever the case may be. And so, but like I said, I'm not going to escape my accountability in it. I didn't read the room. Logic, when I wrote it, he wasn't retired. He's retired now. He's trying to do his own thing. You know what I mean? And so that is something that if I could go back, I just wouldn't say the line out there, because it's like, let him do his thing. You know what I mean? And so it would be a conversation that if I ever met him, I would have with him personally still, but I wouldn't necessarily put it out. You get what I'm saying?
For the record, I don't think there's a chance in hell he doesn't know who you are, like he said.
Oh no, he definitely knows.
He knows.
But I like it's like, bro, you're a hip hop stan, and this is Top Dawg Entertainment. Yeah, exactly.
You know,
so,
and he's a Kendrick stan.
Exactly,
Like,
exactly.
You know,
yeah,
reason is.
Yeah, but yeah, shout out to Logic though. Like his career musically, like I'd be lucky if I was able to reach that level. You know
for sure.
I mean?
I'm glad you made that clear because like, you know,
a lot of people took it from a hip hop standpoint, which I can't blame them. And it's funny because when it dropped, I'm like, oh damn, it does sound like I'm saying that. like it does sound like
because I was thinking like, you know, like I know Logic is like a real hip hop head. Like this guy, you know, he works with no ID.
That's a fact.
Like
that's a fact. Nah, you can't, and that's what I'm saying. Like you can't say Logic isn't a hip hop guy, and that's not what I was saying. But you know, perception's reality.
I understand why you said that though. Yeah, I think that what's going on right now, man, is very important. Like that's why I tell everybody, like, you know, if you're, let alone just a normal citizen who has empathy and gives a fuck about your neighbor, or just, you know, it's hard to get people to care about shit that doesn't directly affect them. But specifically, if you are a part of any sort of black culture, and I mean that as far as, you know, you could be a radio personality, you could be somebody who does YouTube shit, you could be whatever, but if you're benefiting off the back of black culture, like, bro, I've literally made my entire career off of black music. That's my whole life revolves around black culture since I was 15, 16, really since I was like 12.
Yeah.
Even earlier, you know, but like, you know, I had a very interesting upbringing. Like I was raised in a house where my best friend was black and his grandma lived with me and his sister lived with me when I was a kid, you know? So like, it frustrates me so much to see, almost like you just said with the Logic thing. Now Logic, obviously an African-American man. Yeah. So, you know, it's a little different, but it frustrates me to be like, yo, how are you like talking in and out of Drake songs every day on the radio and like afraid to fuck up your social media aesthetic?
No, and it's crazy because you posted a video on Instagram talking about that, and I got a lot of respect for you for when you said that. You know what I mean? I saw your Instagram post when you said that. You know, like, you know, every day you're talking in and out of Drake songs and black culture. You're going to clubs and playing black music. There's black people there. These are the people that are literally affording you your life. And then when something happens, you don't speak.
It's like you're like in for when it's convenient.
Exactly.
It's like you're tiptoeing in and out of the fucking like,
1,000%.
bro. Like, but when shit hits the fan, like you gotta scream at the top of your lungs.
Exactly. And shout out to Jack Harlow because I even hit him up and reached out to him because he was front line when that shit was going on. He was marching every single day, posting shit every single day, speaking at pep rallies and stuff like that. Like I feel like I fuck with that. And like I always say, I always, you know, play the other side of the fence and have accountability to the black people, because Eminem did this shit on the BET Awards where he made like a freestyle.
And they shitted on him.
And I feel like, you know, black people have to stop doing that as well. It's like when there are white people that want to join the side, you know,
and that was before. That was 2 years ago.
Exactly, that was like 2-3 years ago, and I feel like I thought it was dope. I thought it was dope. This is the biggest white artist from a rap standpoint in the world. He's always been on this side of the fence. It's not like he's doing this for like he's always been on this side of the fence. And then we kind of shitted on him. You know, I'm gonna always hold my people accountable too and say like that's not cool. You know what I mean? Like Eminem is somebody that has been on our side of the culture. You know, we have to tackle this shit together if we're going to be able to make leeway. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think too, like someone like him, you know, like he's got fans 100% that are racist.
Yeah, and he put that on the line. Like, if you are racist, don't support me. Don't fuck with me.
There's something, because like I'm real close with a rapper named Ritz, who's a white dude.
Okay. That's actually hilarious, by the way.
Yeah, he's fired though. Super.
He is? Okay, gotcha. I got to check him out.
And like, you know, I got a boy named Jelly Roll, and like, a lot of time, even like Tech Nine, like is my boy, and like I've done a lot of stuff with Strange Music and that world.
Yeah,
and that world is mostly white fans.
Yeah,
and a lot of them are racist, bro.
That's crazy.
There's a lot of Tech Nine fans that are racist as fuck.
That's insane, bro.
Like that's straight insane. Up, and like and Tech will tell you that too. You know what I'm saying? I'm sure. Now he's got an incredible following. Yeah, but there's like a real faction of hip hop fans that are real like MAGA ass motherfuckers, bro. And it's bro. Like it's very disappointing, but like you said about the Eminem thing, like he might piss off a huge part of his fan base by saying something, but what he might also do is, even if it's 1,000 people who hear that freestyle and it teaches them something, and then they go Google it, and then they're like they become more educated about the situation, or they change their stance on shit. Like, Eminem influences people.
No, that's a thought.
They might be people who drink Monster Energy and have, you know, Fox Racing cargo shorts, but I'm saying like he can reach people like and there's gonna be parts of his fan base and just anyone in the country that just aren't, that they're just, this is where they are. They're not going to budge.
Yeah, I think it's about 30 and 30. I think it's 30% over here, 30% over there. But that last, 40% that's in the middle, you fight for those. You get what I'm saying? And even more importantly, there might be other white celebrities that wanted to say something and were about to say something and then saw Eminem get killed and stepped back. And so that's another reason why I feel like, we can't do that, is because, it could have been other artists or celebrities or whatever that wanted to say something and stand with us, and it's like we take a step back by killing them because they might be, well, shit, like M just jumped out the window and they went crazy on him. I'm just gonna chill back, you know what I mean, and not say nothing. And it's like we need every single voice that we can get, you know what I mean, in trying to change it, you know what I mean. So yeah, that's how I feel.
What do you think? If someone's watching this and they're like, kind of just unsure of the things that they could probably do to, for me, like I was one of those guys who was like, and I've been, anytime there's, I grew up, like I said, my best friend Rams is best man at my wedding. Like we would be riding around in his Neon when I was like 14. He was older than me, and we get pulled over and this fool would get yanked out the car, put on the curb. And then they would be interrogating me like, why are we hanging out? Why are you hanging out with this like older black kid, And so it's always been something close to my heart. But like, for me, it's like, okay, like I want to put my money where my mouth is, but I didn't know where to donate. Cause you never know, like with so many of these.
That's real. It's like, it's so agenda. Like pushed.
So I just call Killer Mike. Anytime I got any sort of questions about that,
that's a good person to call.
I call Killer Mike. I say, hey man, I really want to post. I want to donate some money and I want to shed a light on some charities. Like, just tell me what tell me what to do.
Yeah, he's a good leader in this shit.
Yeah, and he's like, yo, there's this, cool. You know what I'm saying? And then obviously protesting, and I think I might have caught the Rona when I was out protesting. That might have been where I got it. But I do think that there's I know that a lot of people get shit for being social media, like
quote unquote, like, oh, you're doing this for the gram or whatever the case.
And there's a lot of that.
Yeah.
But I do think either way, it's it's better than nothing. I think the Black Square shit was kind of corny, to be honest.
Yeah. I feel like
it's like looking back,
looking back on it, I was like, that didn't really help. But I think it's a growing process, and like I have because I worked at a corporate company. Before I got signed, that's where I was working at. So I had a lot of white coworkers and friends still. And some of them even reached out to me and was like, what do we do? And for me, I just think that the biggest thing that you can do in the day-to-day life is to just try to understand what's going on and do your research and empathize with it and, hold other people accountable. Like, I think that that's the bare minimum that you can do, because people that are of that world that are naive, quote unquote, like you're not naive, you grew up in this black culture, but there's other people that are naive because they didn't grow up here, but they are humans and they feel for us now because they're aware. So I tell them, like, all the people that are in your circle, you just have to hold them accountable. When y'all are having these conversations and stuff like that, like, you can't be afraid to speak up to them because that's your quote unquote friend or whatever.
I like to call, there's like these white people conversations that happen where there's no other races around.
Exactly.
And then that's when you really find out, like,
that's a fact.
Whether it's people you work with or you might be at a fucking liquor store or something.
No, that's real.
And somebody in line might say some slick shit to you because you're another white guy.
Exactly. And they think that, like, oh, it's all cool. Like, you know what I mean?
And, like, bro, like, what? Yeah. Bro, what?
And those are the conversations that I feel like everybody that actually
to be like, no, like, that's not okay.
That's not cool. Like, you know what I mean? And those are the conversations that you got to hold people accountable, at the bare minimum. And then, if you want to go that extra mile, you do your research. I advise everybody.
Stay off of Facebook too, please. That place is the fucking cesspool of the internet.
No, it's the worst. It's up there with Twitter. Twitter, I think, is like Twitter's like
Facebook is where, like, the memes and like the fake news story, bro. When my mom has hit me with so much crazy shit. Like, is this true? And I'm like, Mom, did you see that on Facebook? Yeah. Like, well, listen, then no.
Yeah, then no.
Get the fuck off of Facebook.
It's probably
Mom.
not true.
Please.
No, that's a fact.
Yo, what's up, man? Bootleg Kev here. Shouting out to the homies at Odd Socks for sponsoring the Bootleg Kev podcast and showing us love, man. And let me tell you something. We don't take everyone's money. That's not true. We'll take everyone's money but Donald Trump's. But with that being said, we fuck with Odd Socks, all right? I've been rocking Odd Socks for like 8 years now. And man, Christmas time coming up. Make sure you get you some Odd Socks. First of all, let's talk about these basics right here. These joints are the most comfortable socks I've ever put on my feet. All right, no design, no license, but just crazy. So make sure you get some of those. All right. Then they got the Nickelodeon. They got the Scarface. They got Tapatio. They got WWE. How about Chef from South Park? You know what I'm saying? Whatever you need. Shout out Stone Cold Steve Austin, by the way. These are the socks that I wear when I drink PBR and yell at my wife. Anyway, shout out to Old Dirty Bastard, too. Go to oddsocksofficial.com right now. All right? Right now. Go to oddsocksofficial.com, use the keyword bootleg Kev, and you will receive 20% off at checkout. Go do that. There, by the way, shout out to Kendrick. I got to address the rumor of him leaving TDE. He put that to bed today.
Yeah, I was about to say, you see the video?
With the Blues Clues,
okay, that
stuffed animal.
It was hilarious, bro.
Yeah, no, I thought it was really, really funny. And I think that, like, you know, I hope he's putting out some music soon. But is it kind of like the gift and the curse of the TDE thing? Because any sort of like Kendrick is like, you know, I put him top 5 ever.
Yeah.
I always tell people, because there's like OG hip hop fans that tell me I'm crazy, but I'm like, yo, you're going to put Biggie in the top 5, which is fair, off of 2 albums.
Yeah, exactly.
But Kendrick got 3 classics.
That's a fact.
And we're not talking about Section 80.
Yeah.
Or the Kendrick Lamar EP.
Yeah, exactly. No.
Or you know, even Untitled, you know, but we're just talking about his 3 official.
Yeah, Good Kid, the Butterfly, and Damn. Yeah.
Section 80 is up there with those records. You know what I'm saying? But I just feel like everywhere you're gonna go, you're gonna get Kendrick questions. Is that kind of like
1,000%? It's funny because I was just talking to Punch about this the other day. I don't think that there's been an artist that's been in my position as far as like the amount of pressure. And what I mean by that is that, you know, I'm the first artist that has to be broken without Dave Free being around. He hasn't been involved in any part of my career, and that's not a shot at him. He just left when I was coming in. So that's timing. There hasn't been a new artist to drop when the thirst level of the bigger artist has been this high. You know what I mean?
It's been 3 years.
It's been 3 years, and it's been 4 for Zay, and it's been like 3 for SZA. It's been like 2 for Rock. 2.5.
We got Q last year, or earlier. Was it Q?
Early last year. So
like
like a year and a half ago. You get what I'm saying? So for all the bigger artists, there's never been a younger artist to drop when there's been that thirst level that high. You know what I mean? So it's like I'm in a position where I have to make people care. I have to do the creative direction without Dave, and everybody just wants a Dot album. You know what I mean? So I'm definitely under like the most pressure that any TDE artist has been under, but at the same time, I always try to look at pros and cons in every situation instead of saying, woe is me. And the pro is that like all eyes are on me. You know what I mean? And I know that there's going to be a lot of fans that's just like, you know, oh, Reason's dropping, cool, he's out the way. You know, like where's the next album or whatever. But there are going to be those handful of fans that still go listen because, you know, it's still TDE. Yeah. And I think that this project is strong to where they're going to know, you know what I mean, that like, oh, this dude is not just like another dude that's just dropping. Like this is a very, very strong project. So that's what I'm looking forward to.
What's your, you know, I know you got Isaiah on the album, and I've been waiting for, like you said, man.
Yeah,
I think he's one of the greats. I think he's somebody who don't get enough. I mean, also he hasn't put an album out.
Yeah, exactly. It's like to the other side of it. Yeah.
But what's your relationship like with him? You know, I think, like I said, there's just been so many rumors about his career, and like you know, I know he's still on the label. I think for a while there was like some speculation that he might have not been on the label, but what's y'all's relationship and dynamic?
We have a great relationship, and shout out to Zay. Me and Zay are around the same age, and I appreciate Zay because he's been through a lot of shit that I'm still going through.
Right.
And he holds me accountable. Without going into detail, he called me and held me accountable about the Logic shit. Just about like, bro, read the room. You know what I mean? Like not necessarily getting on me about what I said, but just like why, you know what I mean? And so, you know, there were things that he said that I agree with. There was things that he said that I didn't agree with. But at the end of the day, I love anybody that will call me, that cares about me and hold you accountable, because that is a tough conversation to have with anybody that you love. You know what I mean? And so
those are the kind of people you want around you.
Those are the kind of people you want around you, 100%. And so, you know, I fuck with Zay. We have a great relationship. I tell people all the time, Zay is a lunatic, and that's part of the part of the delays in his music as well, is that he's fucking crazy. Like Zay, he's very very detailed about his music. He cares about it a lot. He cares about his music a lot. He's very connected to it. And so, you know, until it's where he wants it to be and the records that he wants, and him and Top get on the same page about that, because it has to be records that he loves and is connected to, and it also has to be records that Top, you know, believes can elevate his, you know, his status. Yeah. So, you know, that takes a minute sometimes, and it's definitely a push and pull thing, because Top is probably the hardest critic of music that I've ever fucking met. It's fucking crazy. Like, yeah.
I've heard.
Yeah. So, but shout out to Zay though. I don't think that people have to wait much longer though.
Dope. Will there be a continuation of the storyline of Lambo Truck? Like you and Kaz like might do a part 2 or something? Like
we've talked about it because we're working on a project, and
so there's going to be you and Kaz are working on a joint project.
There will be. We're working on it. We're actually almost done.
It's not going to be like the Kendrick Cole album.
No, it's not going to be like that. Yeah, and
it's going to actually come out.
Me and Kaz talked about that. I said, bro, we're going to do this. Like, I don't want to. Like I said, I came in this shit as a fan. I never want to do to fans what other artists have done that's frustrating, because I've been a fan. You get what I'm saying? So I told Kaz, like, if we're going to put this shit out there and talk about it on the internet, like,
it's got to come out.
It's got to come out. And I was like, and even if the labels don't agree, then we got to just like leak it, and we just got to both take it on the chin from the like and put it on SoundCloud.
I don't know how it got put on SoundCloud.
Out. You know what I'm saying? Like, it is what it is, but it has to come out. You know what I mean? Like, and so that's how I feel about it. But it would have been done by now, but I was really just tying up this project. It was really like I forgot how long it and how many hours it takes to send videos, and to do videos and get content together and all of that shit. And so I had to kind of back out. We were having sessions, and I had to kind of back out of those sessions for a minute to get my shit tied up. But shout out to him.
How many records in do you guys?
We probably got like 8 right now. We're trying to make sure the project is only like 7 records, but we want to make like 15 and then pick the strongest ones. Yeah. So I actually just had a phone call with him last night because I sent him 2 joints that I did. And I was like, you know, like I'm back working again.
Right.
Yeah, I'm back working again. So like, let's get cooking. And he was like, thank God, because like I just been missing as far as like the process of it. So yeah, we'll probably wrap that up like within the next month and a half.
What is do you remember what Top's reaction was to that song originally when he heard Kaz's portion of it?
Top called me and said, this nigga Top is crazy. He said, yeah, I heard you was robbing Cole. Tell Kaz, remember it's just a song. He said, just tell him, make sure he remembers it's just a song, bro. Don't come over. It's not where you want to come over here with that.
I do think it's dope though that you guys are gonna do that project together, because I do feel like no matter what, Dreamville and TDE are gonna always be they're the integrity in hip hop when it comes to creatively, like the artists that y'all like that everyone signs. Like I feel like that there's 2 constants when it comes to integrity. Like, you know, you're going to get a certain level of music or quality when when it comes to those 2 camps. Yeah. And just Cole and Kendrick kind of having a simultaneous come up.
Yeah. Nah, it's been like right there. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like Cole was on the freshman cover year after Kendrick was on the freshman
cover.
You
know what I'm saying? And then it's like, you know, I think Dot dropped or Cole dropped Sideline Story, and then Dot dropped Good Kid, Mad City, and then, you know, Cole dropped
what was the record on Section 80 that J. Cole produced, the big one?
Oh yeah, shit. I'm blanking.
I used to play it on the air all the time.
Yeah, damn, was it?
Cole
was it High Power?
High Power.
Yeah, High Power. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
High Power.
Yeah,
Cole produced that. Man, yo, you should get some Cole beats, Reason.
Bro, I'd hit him up for some. Like, I'm like, duh, like, what do you? But he's working on this album. But I'm like, my nigga, I know there's records that you're not using.
He's got beats sitting on a hard
I know
drive.
that there's records that you're not using, bro. He's actually a super fire producer
he's
as
incredible.
well. You know what I mean? Like, nah, Cole is a dope human being.
People be forgetting that shit when Cole first came out. Like, he was low key like producing for other artists a little bit.
1,000%. 1,000%. You know what I mean? And birthing ideas. You know what I mean? As far as like from a writing perspective, not necessarily writing, but just birthing ideas. You know, I tell people, those are the best producers to me, are the ones. Shout out Cal Banks. He does this. And that's why I love working with him. But like, as an artist, it's hard to keep coming up with new ideas. But the producers that make beats and then kind of give you ideas of cadences and melodies and stuff like that, like those are the dopest.
Well, that's producing.
That is producing.
The other
like,
shit is beat making.
It's just beat making. You know what I'm saying? Like, which is no offense to that if you were a beat maker. Shout out to you. But it's like there's a difference between a producer and a beat maker. And I tell people that too. Is like, you know, there's some producers that don't make beats, but they produce. Like, shout out to Diddy. Like, he was one of those people. He didn't make beats,
but he be in the room.
He be in the room, like, like, you know what I mean? Like, let's do this, let's do that. And that's an important thing as well. You get what I'm saying? So yeah, nah. I was I am a fan, and I always wanted that project though, and you know, I just wish that like the world would have got it. You know what I mean? And so,
yeah, man.
And that's another thing that I'm pushing too is like this relationship with Dreamville and TDE to just come a little closer. I was the only artist that was on the Revenge album. You know what I mean? And I was proud of that. Me and JID, I took a pay cut to go on that tour because I felt like it was important for the culture, not for you know what I mean. Like Top still didn't, you know what I mean, feel because he's a businessman. Like that don't make sense. But I took a pay cut because I felt like it was important. And me and Kaz making this project to me is important. And I just feel like it's important for our two labels to grow a relationship. And, you know, we're always going to have friendly competition. But at the same time, we do need to grow a little bit closer of a relationship.
No, I think it's dope. Like, I remember as a kid, the Rough Riders and Cash Money going on tour together.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, there was shit like that going on that, like...
That shit is iconic. Like,
and I feel like that shit is kind of missing. Like you said, like the fact you went on tour with JID, is super fire. I just feel like that kind of, like... You know, like a SZA fucking Ari Lennox tour would be so crazy.
Would be so crazy, bro. Even like how they do Dreamville Fest. I'm like, and we did the championship tour. I'm like, if TDE and Dreamville did a tour, bro, it would be literally insane, bro. Like it was like, and from a business perspective, there's so much money that can be made. What showed me that was Days in Vegas. Did you go to Days in Vegas?
Yeah, of course. Yeah,
yeah, like. Bro, that shit was the most lit festival I've ever performed at because you had hip hop fans at a festival going crazy, and they don't get the opportunity to go to festivals and see their favorite artists like that.
I thought that the lineup was epic. The execution of the festival was
the execution of the festival was like a little shaky.
I also was fucking blown out of my mind for like 3 days straight at that tour, like high as fuck, and I was on mushrooms and shit, and it was a great. I enjoyed, like you said, like
the music on Friday and Sunday. The Friday was Dreamville, Sunday was TDE.
The fact each camp had their own day.
That shit was so hard, bro.
Then Kendrick came out in a cowboy hat, and I didn't know what the fuck was going on.
And people didn't think it was him.
He looked like the fucking the monster in Jeepers Creepers. Like like I was like, what the fuck is that, Kendrick?
But like, imagine if like we had more songs together, and if on both days you were getting like both. You get what I'm saying? Like, because when me and Kaz did Lambo Truck there. It went crazy. It went crazy. And I'm like, bro, if everybody on the labels had different records with each other, like, and we were like doing shit on each other. You guys
should do
like it would have been stupid.
5 dates.
I agree. Yeah, just like pick the biggest cities.
You know what it is though? Where it becomes tough is, and I think the only reason something like that won't happen or why it might not happen is deciding
who goes last.
Yeah,
and that's to me, that's what kills so many moments in hip hop is that part of it is like who goes last, what label is the bigger.
You would kind of almost like Kendrick and Cole would almost like when I saw the Drake and Lil Wayne tour when they were going back and forth. The shit was kind of fly. Yeah, I mean obviously Drake's gonna go last if anyone's gonna go last, but with Cole and Kendrick is there's really no definitive way to pick that. Except
what I think they should do.
Hey, yo, we're in LA.
Yeah.
Kendrick's going to go last.
1,000%.
We're going to do Atlanta. I don't know. Maybe you do.
Well, that's what I was going to say. Like, because I've had conversations with my homies about this, just spitballing and talking shit. I feel like they should just divide the country in half. And
like, yo, I'm gonna take the
I'm gonna take the East Coast. You take the West Coast. You know what I'm saying? When we on the West, you go last. When we on the East, I go last.
Do like LA, San Francisco, Charlotte, Atlanta, New York.
Yep, exactly. And call it a day. You get what I'm saying? Like, and I feel like if they did that,
and maybe Texas or something.
Yeah, yeah. And
3 and 3,
3 and 3, and just Dot go last over here, Cole go last over there.
That's what Eminem and Jay-Z did.
I didn't even know they did that.
They did 2 shows. They did Detroit.
That's crazy. Yeah, in New York.
And they did New York. And Detroit, they did the baseball stadium or whatever the big stadium is. And then in New York, they did Yankee Stadium.
That's fire. I had no idea that happened.
Yeah, they only did 2 shows. It was called the Home to Home tour. So it was like each artist did in Detroit, Jay opened for M.
That's hard. That's hard. I fuck with that.
Yeah, that shit would be crazy.
That's tight though. Like, and that's what I'm saying. Like, and if they did a show like that where they went back and forth, bro, like those are moments that like. It doesn't matter what the ticket costs, like, because it's priceless. Fans, like it's just take all of my money. Yeah, take all my money.
That's how I felt about that Day in Vegas tour. I didn't have to pay for my tickets, but I was like, if I was a hip hop fan, how much do you need?
When people saw the lineup,
Kendrick, and, like,
I had homies hitting me up like, before I buy my ticket, is this fake? Like, have you gotten paid for this shit? Like,
that was the craziest lineup ever assembled.
It was insane.
Because we did our Real Street Fest in August.
Yep.
And they announced that shit. And I was like, oh my God. How much money did they spend on this lineup?
Like, how is this even possible?
Like who's funding this? Jesus Christ.
They had like 5 major headliners there. Like people
this
is the person you pick to close the entire, and they had like 5 of them. Like,
it was insane,
it was
bro.
Crazy. It was crazy, bro.
I don't even think Tyler closed out the day he was on. Who closed
Nah, he didn't.
out that day?
Travis closed out that day. Travis closed out. That's what I'm saying. Like, it was insane, bro. That Travis was there. I want to say Cardi was there. I'm not 100% sure.
She was supposed to be there.
Okay, that's what it was. She was supposed to be there. Okay, got you. Uzi was there.
Uzi.
Like Cole, Dot, Tyler. Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, that's 5 headliners right
Dawg
there.
was there.
100%. It was crazy, bro. It was super, super crazy. So, yeah, I just want like us to create more moments like that. You get what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah, I think that's true, man. I think that a lot of ego. I'm not saying that that's the case here, but I just
Yeah.
think in general, like in hip hop, there's a lot of shit that like.
I think I call it business ego, which is not like the people. It's more about like the business, like of the two sides.
Yep.
Like, it doesn't make sense for our side. Well, it doesn't make sense for our side. You get what I'm saying? Like, so I don't think it's necessarily artist
Like,
ego.
what if we just did something for the fans?
Wouldn't that be crazy? Like,
Nah, that'd be super crazy. But look, man, the album officially out, or project, or mixtape, or whatever we're calling it.
whatever we want to call it.
Does this mean we're gonna have to wait 4 years for your next project?
It does not, and that's one thing I've taken pride in with the label is that I do feel like I've changed the mode of how things work a little bit. Even to the fact like fans were giving me a lot of slack. Like, man, we've had 8 singles. Like, we heard the whole album. I'm like, well, no, only 3 of them are on the project. Like, because TDE artists don't just drop singles. That's not a thing. You know what I mean? And I was the first one that was just putting shit out. Like, I just get on Top's nerves until he'd be like, let me shut Reason up and put something out.
Yeah.
But I said it to say no. Like, I'm almost done with my debut album. I'm hoping to drop like second quarter. So that's what I'm aiming for. That's what my managers and all of us are talking about. So that's what we pushing for. And I'm
then
trying
maybe
to
a little cause
trying to get that out
project?
before my debut. So I'm trying to get the Kaz and Reason shit out.
January,
maybe
February?
I am. That's what I'm aiming for. That's what I'm aiming for. And I gotta double check with Kaz's schedule because I know that he's wrapping up his album. But we've already been in agreement that like we're just gonna put that out. We don't got to do nothing crazy behind it.
Yeah, just throw it out.
It's just for the fans. It's just for the fans. Like, we just put it out. We maybe shoot a
do.
video or 2. Yeah,
shoot
exactly.
a couple videos.
Exactly.
Let it do what it's gonna do.
Let it do what it's gonna do. You get what I'm saying? And hopefully get some features from both sides. And that'll be the closest thing that people. What we're trying to do is make it the closest thing that people can get to a TDE Dreamville tape. So we're trying to get features from both sides.
That'd be hard.
You get what I'm saying? Like,
heavily featured.
exactly, heavily featured. You know what I mean? And get some shit from our side, get some shit from their side. Put it out for the fans. We don't got to do nothing crazy.
Has Ab-Soul and JID ever been on a record together?
Not from my understanding, but I feel like that would be crazy, though. I think that would be crazy. I'm gonna put my vote out there, and JID, you my guy, but Ab will get him. I think Ab will get him.
By the way, I know that DJ had this big thing that you got ate up by Ab-Soul.
Yes,
I didn't think it was that close.
Hey, you didn't think it was that close?
No, I think Head was full of shit.
Oh, okay, thank you. I was about to say, okay, yeah.
I just think Head likes to poke at you because
you're
from Carson.
Yeah, and
he holds you to a high standard.
And he knows that he can get a reaction. And so you know what I mean? Like, he knows I'm so competitive, he can get a reaction. But nah, like Soul did go crazy. But like I tell people all the time, like I always make sure that like my verse is there before I send it off. And honestly, I like when artists hear my verse and try to like go crazy and I'll do it because it makes the song better.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like, I don't want you to send no bullshit because then I'm not gonna put the song out. You know what I mean? And so, but I will say, it's 2 artists. Shout out Boogie and Rapsody. I probably won't be sending them any more verses first because Boogie on Trapped In.
Yeah, Boogie's crazy.
Bro, Boogie went crazy on Trapped In, and then Rapsody on I Can Make It went so crazy. So I'm like, y'all 2, I got to get in the studio. We got to rap. We got to write this together.
We got to do it together.
We got to do this together. Y'all can't just keep on like having my shit and like
being all right. Yeah.
You take 2 months to write a verse and send me back a fucking Ether Nas verse. Like, nah, we're not doing that no more.
Boom.
Bro.
Well, look, go get the album. Reason. The merch is out. Is the merch dropped?
Yeah, merch. Yeah, it would have dropped by now. Yeah.
Okay, so the merch will be out on Friday. Which is it's past Friday. No, it's Friday now. We're dropping this on Friday.
We're dropping this. Yeah. So the merch is out now.
It's
go
out
get
now.
the merch. Yeah, 100%.
Boom. Reason. Bootleg Kev. Let's go. Perfect, man. That's dope.